Can you light the Palo Santo?
Welcome to Chérie, It's a Process. I'm M.
And I'm A. Oh wait, no, I should say hi. I'm A.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm actually unexpectedly good considering my situation. I have my period today, and normally it can be very, very painful and very bad, and I can't move. But I, over the last probably 2 years, I've figured out how I can manage my pain without painkillers, without going to lots of synthetic stuff. So I still have pain, but like it's so much more manageable than usual. So I'm quite proud and happy with myself.
Amazing.
So I'm quite positive today. But how are you?
Nice. I'm good. It's been a very early morning for me. A friend of mine wanted to meet me for a little coffee matcha date at like 8 a.m.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. I got out of bed at like 7:30, but I'm also tired. But it was really lovely. Yeah, it was good. So I feel okay. I just have a lot of personal things going on that are a bit frustrating, but I feel like I'm handling it quite well, and I feel really good being here with you. Well, let's jump into our pocket magic today. I believe you brought one with you today, didn't you?
Let's go into it.
Pocket magic.
So, what is it?
Well, I suffer quite a bit from headaches and migraines. And again, because I used to take so many painkillers for my cramps, a lot of painkillers just don't work for me anymore. And I just kind of have to live with the headache. Sometimes it's a couple of days long, and I just kind of sit with it because the painkillers don't really help. But you, probably about 6 months ago, told me to use peppermint essential oil and to put it on my temples. If it's a really bad one, I'll also put it a bit on my forehead. And that actually, surprisingly, I was like, yeah, she's just talking smack, but whatever, I'll do it. I'll just, try another one of her like weird little things. And it worked! My headache
it worked.
I was like, what the hell? I mean, there was a whole nother side story that went with it, and like the first time I tried it, my boyfriend helped me and it went in my eye, and like it was a whole thing. I had peppermint essential oil in my eye. I thought I was gonna go blind. Okay, my boyfriend just went like and like tried to aim it onto my temple, obviously went in my eye. But then you were like, no, you're so stupid. Put it on your finger and then put it on your temple. I was like, she's a smart one.
Yeah.
So be careful. Don't put it straight on the temple from the bottle. Put it on your finger first and then gently rub it into your temples and where the headache mainly is.
But I think it's between like 20-30 minutes and then it's gone and it works. Yeah. Peppermint essential oil.
It helps having that little pocket magic on me.
There you go. That's what it is, pocket magic. When you do buy an essential oil, just make sure it's not too shitty. And it's actually kind of a good quality, because there are some really bad ones out there. So just keep an eye on it being a good quality. Yeah, so we'll go into our episode today. Today's episode is about Kundalini Yoga. And for those who have never heard of this, I just kind of wanted to give a general description of it to begin with. Kundalini Yoga is a spiritual and physical practice, often called the yoga of awareness, designed to awaken dormant energy, which is called Kundalini, believed to rest at the base of the spine. It blends dynamic movements, breathwork, meditation, and chanting to balance the body's energy systems. Unlike more fitness-focused yoga styles, it emphasizes inner transformation and consciousness expansion as much as physical well-being. God and spirituality is a big part of the practice, although one does not need to be religious or spiritual to truly practice and experience Kundalini Yoga. So I'm no expert in this at all. My journey with Kundalini Yoga started last December, so December of 2024. I have loved it though. I mean, the first time I did this, and we're going to go into it in a little bit when I ask you a bunch of questions and how your journey with it has been. but it is weird as hell in the beginning, and it takes a little while
I
to
think
get
I
into.
wanted, yeah, because you started talking to me about this yoga practice. I was like, yeah, cool, yoga, whatever. I was kind of thinking, yeah, more of the traditional type yoga, which can be quite relaxing, but also quite physical. And this is the first time I've actually heard the proper definition of Kundalini Yoga. You've always talked about it, and you're like, yes, this practice is quite calm and chill, and not this physical workout that I'd feel pain afterwards.
I
You always
said
sold
that?
it as a very to me, you sold it as this kind of very chill,
The
calming.
amount of pain I have had because of
I know.
Kundalini Yoga. I don't think.
Now that I've done my 3 sessions, and that's why the first session you made me do, I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
what are you making me do? Why do I look like a bug with antennas in the air?
Okay, wait.
Like,
We're getting ahead of ourselves. So basically what happened was that I did kind of drag you into it with me, and I was like, you gotta try this, because I've just been so obsessed. And then my teacher, my Kundalini Yoga teacher, you met her quite recently. She said you have to try at least 3 times to make an opinion. So we did your first session shortly after that in the beginning of September. Then the second time you joined a live session, and the third was actually yesterday.
and we made a short recording reflecting back on the 3 Kundalini Yoga sessions that I did, and we'll share that with you now. My body hurts today. Yeah, like I feel good now after the session. Yeah, my body this morning was not ready for it.
I get that. I wasn't really either. How do you feel after?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first one, I felt so tired afterwards. I was like, oh. I think it was good that we did a bit more of the breathing and the, was it, can you call that meditation? But the slower breathing, yeah. I think I feel a bit more awake again now. But in the like, not clarity. Sounds all very spiritual, which I'm not.
Clarity is not that spiritual.
I don't know, I felt anyway.
You feel clearer.
Yeah, definitely feel clearer. It feels good. Yeah. So this is his 3rd session. I'm happy that I did it. What I have realized is that I'm able to stop my brain. I mean, my brain functions in chaos and goes 500 miles an hour, and I think this is the only time that it stops. What I've also realized, I mean, the first session that we did, I was like, what the hell am I doing? But the second one also, I realized, oh wait, my brain, this is the only time my brain stops. I still catch myself drifting off and thinking about how I can make the play better, or what I can do this and what we can do this. Like my brain drifts off all the time, but I'm not in a Formula 1 car driving around Monza. I'm a metaphor, let's cut that out. But yeah.
No, I agree with you. That's the reason why I do it, right? I mean, like, very still normal classic yoga is still really nice. It does calm me down a lot. But Kundalini Yoga really centers me in a whole different type of way, just because it's so intense in so many different ways that it really just stops my brain. It's just about that one moment of my legs fucking hurt. I can't breathe properly. I feel dizzy, but like it's 30 more seconds and I'm pushing. And that's it. That feels quite good. And I always feel very, very proud of myself after.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. Are you going to continue?
I'm not saying no. I'm just going to let it come towards me.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think it should come towards you. I don't think that you should necessarily go and seek it out too intensely.
But we'll see. Thank you. After the first session, I was like, why do I have my arms in the air? I look like a grasshopper with huge antenna, like a massive cartoon. I imagine myself as this giant mantis cartoon character with like massive antennae. I was like,
this is so good. So what did you struggle with the most though?
Yeah, I think more the positions, because you told me nothing. It's a lot of not stamina work, but in a way it is, you need to be able to hold your limbs or your body parts in the air for quite a long time. In the traditional yoga that I know, there's a lot of continuous movement, whereas this is more staying in one position for quite a long time, breathing through it. But I was like, I'm just going to do this because you really wanted to do it. In a way, I was doing it for you because you wanted me to try it. Well, yeah, I did the first one. I was like, this is the most bizarre. And I also remember that day we saw your parents and they were like, oh, so how was the session? And I was like, yeah, it was interesting. They were like, oh, that doesn't sound good. But by the time we got to the second session, it was a bit more of, you'd written down the yes, I can in front of us. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna...
Let's talk about that one for a second. Let's explain that one a little bit, because I think you really struggled in the first session. I think mentally also a bit struggling because it is very intense also mentally to go through and to keep doing something that you're obviously not comfortable with. Before the second session started, I then also talked to you and I was like, look, the thing that helps me get through it is I just always think, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Like a complete insane person. I just keep telling myself that. And it mentally hypes me up so much that I come out of it then being so proud, like, holy fuck, I actually can do it. Like I surprise myself. And with that in mind, I wrote on a paper, yes, I can, really big. I put it in between our two yoga mats. So it can also remind you. Did it help?
I think it did. I mean, what I did do in the first session, which I didn't do in the second one, I was like, okay, I know this story. So it was a school class and the teacher asked everyone to hold their arms up in the air and who could do it for the longest. There was one boy who was very sporty and very muscly and he was able to keep his arms up for a really long time in the air, straight out. And then there was another girl as well, and the two of them managed to do it the longest. After, a really long time, let's say 20 minutes. I don't exactly know don't fact check me on this. But the boy, they had to call the paramedics and stuff because he'd strained his muscles for so long holding his arms, he couldn't even put them down anymore. And the teacher goes to the other girl and she was fine. And he was like, so how come you managed to stay up that long? And she goes, oh, I just imagined that I had angels holding up my arms helping me. And so during this like crazy mantis pose and all the other arm in the air, legs in the air, I tried to like imagine that the first session. And it made me be able to hold it up a lot longer because also I'd come off from a year of not doing any exercise. So I think it helped me a little bit, but not as long as Akalanand had intended it for the session. I did at some point have to put my arms down because I just couldn't.
What you do need to realize though is that session with Akalanand was it's a part of a container that's been going on since April. So the people in this, including myself, have been doing this on a weekly basis since April. So our level of Kundalini Yoga is a lot higher than one who just did this for the second time ever. And she did say at the beginning of the session, she had forgotten that you were joining.
The story I told him, what I was imagining with the angels or being helped was the first session, because then in the second session, I was able to do it for way longer and I didn't have as many issues. And it was a lot more physically intense. But I think the fact that the yes, I can, and I was just like, I'm just going to let this happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to resist. I'm just going to do as much as I can. And I kept my mind pretty like open, and already I was like, I know this is so bizarre, but I just have to try again. The second session I found a lot less intense, and I mean, it was a lot more leg work. Maybe I'm just stronger in my legs and that's why I didn't find it as hard as when it was with my arms. But yeah, that second session, I think the yes I can really, really helped.
Good. So what was your favorite part? Out of all the 3 sessions or just in general, what was your favorite part?
I think probably the calmness and the security I felt in myself. And the kind of groundedness and body. I think I do really struggle to be grounded sometimes. And I felt it again yesterday afterwards, I felt quite grounded and self-aware and very not anxious. And even in the evening, my boyfriend, he wanted to go buy some chocolate in a chocolate shop down the road from us, and there's an old colleague of mine that lives quite close to that area. And usually when I walk past that area, I get very worried and anxious that I might bump into him. The place he and I both work was very toxic, and I just haven't wanted to run into any of them. So I get very anxious and stressed. And when I came up to that place, I was aware that I was coming up, but the panic and the anxiousness didn't come up. And I think probably, I don't know if I'm just better in myself or if the Kundalini Yoga really helped, but I realized that I felt very grounded and secure, and I didn't mind. I had to wait a little bit for my boyfriend, a couple minutes, but I really didn't mind standing in a very open place.
That's so good. I'm sure it's a combination of that grounding of the practice in the morning, and then also you just having evolved out of that anxiousness. Yeah.
So it was a mix, and I think I felt it all day, and even when I went to bed, there was part of it. I was like, yeah, I still feel really grounded and good. I was really happy that I did a session with you today.
Good. So I had just one last question, which was we did do 2 practices with my Kundalini Yoga teacher, Kalanand.
Yeah.
And then we did one last one, that one that we did yesterday, with a Kundalini Yoga teacher that I found on YouTube that does a lot of online stuff. And I can also tag her in the description. Did you notice a difference? Did you enjoy both? Did you prefer one? Did you... Yeah.
I think they were both very different styles of teaching.
Okay.
I think what I sometimes struggled with the container that I did with you, all the other people, the first session that you did, there was a lot of things going on the screen, and my brain just wasn't able to shut that out. And then by the second time it was a bit easier, but I still, in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm on video, I'm being recorded. There was just a lot going on. And
because it's like a live session.
It was a live session, yeah. And the difference I had yesterday was that it wasn't, I was at home, I was in my living room, I was with you online, but I didn't have the kind of, there's lots of people that I don't know. Also, one thing that was a little bit different, her name was Yogi Gems, right?
Yeah.
She used a lot of words that, and maybe it's also because now I've done 2 sessions with her Kalanand as well, so I was a bit more, but she used words that I'd already heard in other yoga practices.
Okay.
That I was like, okay, I know what she's talking about.
Can you give me an example of that? What kind of words?
Well, she used prana quite a bit, and she used different, I don't know if I can say generic yoga words, but
like easy pose, rock pose.
Yeah, she sometimes was like, okay, this is the pose. And probably also with Akalinand, it is a closed group of women, and you've been working on this for a long time, and when she says something, you all know what she's talking about. Whereas I obviously didn't. Yeah, very different teaching styles, but one wasn't better than the other.
Yeah. Obviously with the YouTube video from Yogi Gems, it was just explained for anyone and everyone, and someone who's also never done it before. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. You can't compare them. I'm still very happy that I had both experiences.
Yeah, good. I think it was important for the last session for you to also see another yoga teacher, just because I didn't want you to just be closed off to this one teacher. I think for myself, it's also important to not only ever do Akalanand sessions, but also do other people's sessions. So the next topic, which is a big part of Kundalini Yoga, which is the mantras and the chanting. And just before I deep dive into some of those, I wanted to ask you what you thought of the chanting.
Okay, so I suppose the first session, you didn't tell me anything about chanting and mantras, and I had no idea. Suddenly Akalanand starts chanting, and I'm like, what is going on here? Why are we chanting? Why are we in a music class? I was like, okay, and then you start chanting next to me, and I'm like, right, okay. I feel even more like a cartoon mantis. But so after the first session, I was like, yeah, I wasn't able to chant one bit. I was kind of sometimes going through it in my head, but I wasn't able to make a noise. It felt too strange for me. by the second time you'd already said to me, okay, even if you don't know the words, you can just hum to it, making that vibrations and the noise is quite important for the practice. So I took that into account the second time. And again, I wasn't exactly able to say all the chants because they're still quite new, but I was able to make a noise and let out the inner mantis, reclaim the inner mantis in a way.
And then yesterday, during the last session, did you chant?
I tried. Again, I think it doesn't come naturally to me, but I tried to really get into it, and I was obviously a bit more comfortable and got used to the chants, so I was able to try my best to be part of it.
I don't know if you noticed, but on Yogi Jam's YouTube videos, at the bottom, she blends in the chant itself. Yeah. That was one of the reasons I actually ended up choosing her video to do with you, because I thought that was really nice. Visually seeing the mantra is sometimes also really useful. And she chants it differently than Akalanand does, which I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah, I felt, I was like, there's something a little bit different here, but I couldn't.
So everyone slightly chants it a little bit differently. But yeah, let's talk about it. So when you were saying everyone just started chanting, so the reason why is because every session or every practice you tune in with a chant and with a mantra, and it's always the same mantra. The one that tunes us into the practice is Om Namo Gurudev Namo. I have a little excerpt from Akalanand explaining, it was something I got from back in May during a retreat of hers, and I think she explains it really beautifully. Every practice of Kundalini Yoga always begins by chanting the Adi mantra Om Namo Gurudev Namo 3 times. In the words of Yogi Bhajan, and Yogi Bhajan, little side note, is the yogi that really brought Kundalini Yoga to the West back in the late 60s. I think it was 1969 actually. So in the words of Yogi Bhajan, it's like a telephone number of Shakti, the creative power of the infinite, with its own area code, and it is a direct line. The Adi mantra is your direct access to infinite and universal wisdom. This mantra brings in the willingness to learn from your inner divine teacher, the Guru Dev. Guru Dev is the divine wisdom inherent in each and every one of us. In all of us, there is a divine teacher that speaks to us. Some people refer to this as the higher self. The word guru can be translated into that which transforms ignorance into knowing, from darkness to light. So each and every time we practice, we call upon this wisdom to reveal itself. We honor it by chanting the words Om Namo, which means I bow to this creative and infinite power. Gurudev Namo, which means I bow to the divine teacher within me. Also, this mantra connects you to the matrix of teachers and students called the golden chain, like you are plugging into an infinite field of potential that supports and holds you. This is the first mantra that we start every session and every practice with, no matter who the teacher is. That's really just a universal thing. Then there's another mantra, which is actually my personal favorite mantra and is usually followed up straight after Om Namo Gurudev Namo, and is usually also used to begin and tune into a practice. It is the mantra of protection, which is called the Adgure Name mantra, which is a powerful protection chant in Kundalini Yoga. And it consists of 4 lines, each invoking a different aspect of universal wisdom and guidance. The first line, Adgure Name, honors the primal wisdom. The second, Jugat Gure Name, connects to the wisdom throughout time. The third, Sat Gure Name, honors the true wisdom. And the fourth, Siri Guru Deve Name, invokes the divine teacher's guidance. Together, these lines help create a shield of positive energy and protects you from negative influences. The way my teacher does this chant is by telling us to envision 4 pillars of light, 1 in front, 1 to the right, 1 behind, and the last to the left of me, or of you. Like you just imagine them in front of, around you and surrounding you. And these pillars of light really serve as part of that protection. It's almost, in a magical and in a witchcraft kind of way, you can call it a spell. That's really what you're doing, is you're chanting a spell of protection and starting the practice that way. Yeah, and it's, like I said, it's my personal favorite. It's the one that resonates the most. I'm not really sure why, but I just always really enjoy that one. And it's one that I also often do on my own. And there are many, many, many mantras. So each serve their own purpose. And I think when one practices Kundalini, they will also kind of find their own mantra that connects and resonates with them the most. And I think chanting, as you have also kind of talked about earlier, chanting for me was probably the hardest part about starting Kundalini Yoga. Although the positions are difficult, as you know. But the chanting was probably the hardest because I was so nervous of being loud or too loud, or of saying it wrong. And I had a lot of insecurities in the beginning around it. But it was also somewhat my favorite part always to begin with, because sitting in a room full of women and them chanting the same thing at the top of their lungs it's just goosebumps. I've never experienced something like it. It is wild. So it's an immense power that comes from that. It took me a long time. Even back in May, I wasn't that comfortable with it yet. And now I'm really kind of giving it my all, and I feel a lot more comfortable with it. And I feel like every practice that I do now, I get louder and louder, and I just kind of give it my all. It feels like a good practice to really kind of, expand my voice and expand my comfort zone and confidence. And another mantra that I'll mention today, which is actually one that is used a lot as a greeting in Kundalini Yoga universe world, which is Sat Nam. So Sat Nam is a Bij mantra, and Bij is spelled Beej, and actually means seed. A Bij mantra, or a seed mantra, contains all the knowledge like a tiny little seed contains everything to eventually become a fully grown tree. And Sat Nam are words containing the vibrations of peace, truth, and connection. Sat means truth, Nam means name or identity, and has a grounding vibration. It could be loosely translated into truth is my name. So those are the three mantras that I want to share about today. Kind of most important ones are the ones that are used every practice. And you can find a lot of these mantras also on Spotify. I'll write down the mantras as well in the description. And there's some really beautiful versions of these mantras. So mantras are often used also part of a kriya, which brings me to the next part of what makes up a Kundalini Yoga practice. A kriya is a specific sequence of postures, breathing techniques, and or sounds. So sounds like chanting or mantras. Basically, you can think of it as like a complete recipe. Each kriya has a clear intention, and you practice it exactly as taught to get a particular effect, like an energy or bravery boost, or simply strengthening the nervous system, and you follow a certain type of movement or a certain type of breath. My teacher really loves starting with a certain kriya. Every session, we tune in with a mantra, and then you go immediately into something called cat-cow. You go on your hands and knees. When you inhale, your spine, you arch your spine, you put your head up towards the sky. And when you exhale, you round your spine and your chin goes on your chest, and you kind of round yourself like a cat. And when you flex your spine, when you inhale, you're a cow. That's why cat-cow. And you close your eyes and you breathe. So inhale up, exhale down. The idea is that you then also speed up. So you don't just stay in one speed the whole time. It's a warm up. So you start slow and then you get faster and faster and faster and faster. Do you remember doing this? Yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then last 20 seconds, she usually tells you like you go as fast as you can go. The thing with the kriya is the movement is obviously important, but the breath is really the most important thing. And the intensity and the deepness of it is really what we're going for and what we're kind of wanting to achieve. And yeah, Kundalini Yoga, if you really kind of dive into it deeper, it can get very exhausting. So this sounds easy right now because it is, but it can get very, very, very intense. So,
I mean, I don't think I can say that I've had a too intense session, but there's been some moments where, yeah, you're lying on your back and you're just like, ugh, what is going on? Why am I in this position?
I literally,
this is painful.
In my notes, I wrote down, sometimes you find yourself in positions that you never ever would have thought you would ever be in. I think that explains it and sums it up the best, to be honest.
But yeah, you find yourself in positions where you're like, what the hell is going on?
I think I was so happy that she was like, you have to do at least 3 to make and form an opinion. Yeah. And I was so happy that she said that to you, because I agree with her. Because the first time you do it, you really go, why would I ever put myself through this again? Like, it is just honestly what happens. But then the second time, like, you were already saying like, oh, I actually noticed this is helping me and I feel really good after. And then the third time you're like, oh, this genuinely is like, this is making an impact, right? And the more you do it, and then now it's not even been a whole year for me, but I'm like, oh, I get it now. It all makes sense. And I know why I do this. And I know that when I don't do this for a while, I don't feel as good. I know this helps me really stay on top of my mental health and physical health. Yeah. So, oh wait, this is important. Talking about the weirdest positions that you're ever going to be in. My teacher, Akalanan, she always says this thing during class. I actually asked her, because I wanted to make sure I got this correct, and I quoted her correctly on this. So I texted her yesterday and I was like, I just want to make sure that like this is the right thing. And is it this? And then she texts me back. She was like, I genuinely don't know. I don't remember if I say this. And I was like, I told her as well, I feel like when you're in it, you're in it. You don't really think about what's happening or what you're saying. But she said it was really cute. She said it sounds correct. And just to be factual, I will mention it in the next section, in the next session. So you're quoting me correctly. It was really funny. Basically, what I think she always says is mind over matter, which is, again, it goes back to like my own version of it, which is yes, I can, which is this thing of just mentally being strong enough to then physically go through something. And it's one of the most important things, I think. It's I think that's what Kundalini Yoga taught me the most, is that kind of confidence, and I can do this, and I can mentally get myself to the point where I can go through this. Yeah. Anyway, so that's an example of a Kriya. It brings me to the next thing, which is probably the most important part and factor of any practice, which is the breath work. And probably the reasons why I love Kundalini a lot, and what really helps me, or not helps me, but probably what really makes the practice for me, is the breath work. And I did some research because I wasn't even sure exactly why this is such a big part of it. And I also wondered like where it comes from, or why it's so important, or maybe even like what the benefits of it are, of breath work. And you actually mentioned this earlier, which was the word prana. Do you know what prana or pranayama actually means? Or what it stands for?
I don't think I know the official definition.
You don't, or you do?
No, I don't think. I know that I have this other yoga teacher that I sometimes do, and she always says, feel the prana.
Yeah. And
it's kind of when you're in a pose and you're stretching and you start feeling the pain, you start feeling not the ache, but you start feeling it in your body. And she's just like, feel that work, you not work through it, but feel that. That's kind of what it means for me, but I don't actually know the official definition.
I mean, yeah, but what you're really feeling is the flow of energy, is the life force. So that's what prana or pranayama actually is, or means, is life force. It's energy flowing. And by doing these positions, you feel that tingling, or you feel the blood rushing through you. That's the energy, that's the life force. And that's the prana she's telling you to feel. Exactly. So that's what, prana means life force. The breath is the vehicle for prana. So controlling the breath is essentially controlling your energy and life force, which is a huge part of Kundalini Yoga. And then there's also the mind-body bridge. So the breath is I didn't actually know this, or I never thought of this this way. I thought this was really interesting. So the breath is the only function we can control that also runs automatically. I just want to repeat that because I think it's such a cool sentence. The breath is the only function we can control that also runs automatically. So by mastering it, we access subconscious patterns and shift our state of being, because breath patterns affect the nervous system. Slow, deep breathing can calm anxiety, while rapid, rhythmic breath, like the breath of fire, which is used a lot during Kundalini Yoga, awakens and energizes. So because breath of fire is the one that gets used the most and it's so hard and so difficult, I struggle with it still. Yeah, it's the most used and it's the most important one. So I wanted to just deep dive into that really quickly. The idea behind breath of fire, if you've never heard of it, is that it's really rapid and rhythmic breath through the nose, and that it's not just rapid and rhythmic, but it's the inhale and the exhale is equal to each other. So when you're inhaling and exhaling, it's the exact same amount that you're inhaling and exhaling. And at the same time, while you're inhaling and exhaling, you're also pumping your navel in and out, which is probably the hardest part for me.
I was yesterday during that session.
Did you try?
At some point I was like, she kept being like, pump the navel in and out, pump it. And today is definitely a bad example because that whole area hurts for me. So
you shouldn't be doing the breath of fire when you're on your period, like at all.
I wasn't yesterday, but
yeah.
At some point I put my hand on my stomach and I was like, I know that, because fun little fact, when I used to play the clarinet, my teacher always said, your breath needs to come from your stomach, not from expanding your lungs. It needs to come from your stomach. And he was like, the only way you can really do that is if you lie on the floor, and that's when you feel you breathe from your stomach and not from your chest expanding. And yesterday that kind of popped back in and I was like, I don't think I'm moving my stomach. I don't know if it was just I couldn't feel it because I was already a bit pre-crampy, or it was just, but I just couldn't get that stomach, the navel in and out. I was like, if I do this again, I need to try and engage that a bit more. But I got conscious to the fact that it was my lungs and my ribs that were expanding and not my stomach or navel.
Yeah, really bad. It's better to do it. No, it's not. But it's better to do it slowly and focus on keeping the inhale and exhale even and breathing from your tummy and doing it slowly rather than doing it from your chest and your lungs. Because really, I mean, what I also notice is that when I kind of have an anxiety or like panic attack type of thing, then my breathing is up here in my chest. If I am truly calm and it doesn't, like, I'm okay, my breathing should always come from the tummy. Always. That's when you really feel yourself. And that's how the breath of fire works, basically. You're kind of pumping your navel in and out quite rapidly. But again, if you struggle with that in the beginning, which it is really hard in the beginning, then just do it slowly. Do it right and really focus on doing it right, and then you can speed up once you feel more comfortable. So I also still often do it very slowly and take my time with it. The physiological effects I have as well, and the idea is that it I can never say this word, oxygenates the blood quickly. So what it does, it gives you a brain clearing effect. which is what you felt the other day after the session. This is what you were talking about. You were talking about that clarity, and that actually comes from the breathing and the oxygenating the blood. And it's not just some spiritual woo-woo. It's just breathing. Obviously, it also strengthens diaphragm and lungs. It massages the abdominal organs and supports digestion because of the navel coming in and out. And it balances the nervous system and builds resilience to stress. The more energetic or spiritual effects are clearing stagnant energy from the body and increasing vitality and strengthening the aura, which is also that confidence that I often talk about. And lastly, it helps awaken Kundalini energy by pumping energy up the spine. Often teachers will mention this as when you're breathing, and at some point they were like, breathe in and really feel the energy flowing up your spine. And that's the Kundalini energy that people talk about, the Kundalini Yoga energy. Yeah, obviously there isn't much scientific research out there, and I can only really talk about my own personal health journey. And having practiced this for some time now, I can tell you that it does improve well-being, and it has improved my well-being. I also think and know for a fact that it's played a huge part in me losing all that extra weight that I had during my health issues. And it's really helped me with that external extra weight, but also the internal extra weight. So mentally and physically, it's definitely brought me back to myself without having done any great big, dietary changes or doing incredible fitness. It's just that mental and body clarity that I got through doing it. So the next thing is going into the religious part of everything. I wouldn't say that I was ever really religious or spiritual up until, well, I guess now, since I've started practicing Kundalini Yoga, I've been thinking about this or diving into this a bit more. And I do want to dive into this because I think it's really important to just talk about it and explain how, like, the importance of it and how it plays into Kundalini Yoga, because I feel like other yogas or other types of yoga aren't as out there religious than Kundalini Yoga. I think the word God is used a lot during Kundalini Yoga, and I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit as well, just also with my own personal journey and with it. But I've never personally really considered myself being religious, although I have always been fascinated and interested by religions, by all kinds of religions. I personally come from a Catholic background, so my grandmother is very, very Catholic. My parents aren't part of the church or religious, but I've always grown up being Catholic, and I was baptized and all of that stuff. But I have also, so I've been to a Catholic church a bunch of times in my life, but I have also visited Mormon church a few times. I've been to a mosque or two, and I have also been part of like a Sikh celebration in India. So I've seen or been part of many different types of religions in my life. And I've always been doing research into them, and I've just always been fascinated. My own impression of each of these religions is that they are an institution of one form or another. And there are many issues with following just one form of a written book or what someone else says, and this idea of kind of money and church, and it's being an institution, I struggle with it. And I won't go into it too much because I feel like it could be an episode on its own, just religion, and I don't really know too much about it, so I can't talk too much about it either. I'm no expert, just my own personal experiences. But my takeaway around religion is that I'm very cautious, and even with spirituality, like, I never really saw, there's obviously differences and stuff, but I'm just careful. I guess it was faith in a higher power of any form that I've always been skeptical of. So when I came into this world of Kundalini Yoga and repeatedly heard that 3-lettered word, G-O-D, God, I had some serious hesitations. And I mean, I continued to practice because of the benefits I saw with my mental and physical health, but in the back of my mind, I kept questioning what this thing of God was. And my teacher would also talk about God quite a bit, or a higher power, universe. She did also say it didn't really matter what you called it. And that helped me get past it a bit. The teacher from yesterday, Yogi Gems, she also mentioned this.
I think, yeah, because I had a very similar, I was like, oh, okay, why God, what? Okay, I'm not that I'm not religious, but I'm similar background to you. I was baptized, but like, I'm not practicing, and
we don't go to church.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I kept,
yeah, I think there's a part of it that, I was a little bit like, oh, I didn't realize it was religious. And then I'd never heard, I think, the sessions that we did with the Kala, and she obviously never said anything about it, and I just said, okay. But I did never let it, bother. I was like, okay, it's part of it, but I was like, okay. But then, the Yogi Gems yesterday, she really said, it's not about it having to be God. It can be your form, if that's the universe, if that is the God in your religion, if that is whatever that, higher power, that universe, science, whatever that is for you, that is what this word means. We in the practice use this word, but whatever your own definition of that is what it is for you. And I think that really, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that in that way, I've been able to be a bit more, not open to that side, but understand that side a bit more and be like, okay, well, they're not actually talking about
God in the sense that we've learned about God. Yeah. So I also kept questioning it for me. And I also wondered if I could ever warm up to that word God, because it is such a loaded word. And I think I was also I wanted to ask myself why I'm so triggered by this one word, and if it was possible to reframe the meaning of the word God. Because I think coming from a Catholic church background, it is very specific. So specifically in the last 3 to 4 months, I've been sitting with that a little bit more for me. I guess I've actually slowly found my way to kind of actually loving this word and like opening up to that word and finding my own personal connection to it outside of what I had been taught or what I always thought God was. And a big turning point for me personally was in July. I was part of a really beautiful group, very magical group, led by an even more magical woman. She goes by the name of Katie. And it was this beautiful circle that I was part of for a weekend. And she's a poet, so she shared a lot of poems that not only she wrote, but also others wrote. And there were 2 poems that I actually picked out from this weekend that really, because I felt very attacked and triggered again when she kept mentioning God that weekend, and I was just kind of trying to sit with that. And there were these 2 poems that basically really opened this pool of possibilities of what God could maybe mean or be for me. So there's one poem which is by Meister Eckhart. Love him as he is, a not God, a not spirit, a not person, a not image, as sheer, pure, limpid unity, alien from all duality, and in this one, let us sink down eternally from nothingness to nothingness. I kind of love that. It's not God, not spirit, not person, not image. Sheer, pure, limpid unity, alien from all duality. And I was like, okay, so I can find my own definition for this so-called God. There's a second poem by, I hope I don't mispronounce the name here, but it's by Shamsi Tabrizi. I'm not sure how to say it properly. I will again just link all those. But the poem goes, I wonder what these people think that friendship with God is. That God who created the heavens, who created the earth, who made the universe appear. Is his friendship gained so easily that you come in and sit before him, you talk and you listen? Do you fancy this a soup kitchen? You come in and you drink it down, then you just leave? And it was that sentence, that first sentence. I wonder what these people think that friendship with God is. And it really triggered this exploration for myself, where I'm yet to figure out what my friendship with God is and where it will lead me. But I do want to say that I'm also very grateful that I have been blessed with just being allowed to question it on such a deep and profound level. And I'm truly, truly curious about God. And I feel very privileged and grateful that I'm able to step out of that norm that I grew up with. And I'm now able to really question it from a very different, not just question in the sense of, is this religion good or bad, but question it in the sense of, what is God truly for me? So I did want to ask you as well, how did you feel about this aspect of Kundalini Yoga? And we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but is it even something that you noticed, or did it weigh heavily on you?
I definitely noticed it, because again, I had no idea that Kundalini was spiritual, that it talked about it. So then the first time she said it, I was like, oh, I didn't know that it was so connected to religion. And I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. But I think I was still like, I have to give myself these 3 sessions. And now that I've done the 3 sessions, I have that, oh, okay, well, they're not talking about it being, I mean, I've already said it, but it's not having to be about religion. It's whatever you define that word as. It is whatever you, and I might have a different definition of that to you or the person sitting next to me, my teacher, all of that.
So what is your definition? Do you have one for yourself?
I don't think so. I don't think but I've also only since yesterday when Yogi Jen said, oh, it's not about, have I been like, oh, okay, it doesn't have to be the fluffy guy sitting on a cloud. It's
sitting on what?
On a cloud.
So funny. Yeah. Well, I feel like that's what we get taught as kids in Catholic Church, isn't it?
Yeah. So only since yesterday have I been like, okay, it can be. And then since then I've been a bit more, because before that I was always like, I ignore that part. I'm avoidant to that part. Whereas now I'm like, okay, well, I don't have a definition of what that could be myself, but I also know that for me right now, it's not a guy sitting on a fluffy cloud.
Yeah. Do you have another word, or do you not mind using the word God?
Yeah, I suppose now that I have that kind of different, that it doesn't, it's not in that box, I'm like, I don't really mind the word. But I think at the beginning when I was new to it, I was a bit like, why is this word so present? I was a bit like, I'm feeling conflict. Like I don't really want to have to think about this word and what it means and all of that. So I was very avoidant to it in the first 2 sessions.
Yeah.
But I think that's also part of the whole practice of finding that, what that word means for you.
Yeah, I agree. That's really what I noticed as well, is that I've been doing it for less than a year now, but I've really noticed that part of that practice, like you said, is figuring out what that relationship or what that friendship to God is. And for me right now, it's really just showing up. It's showing up and being on the mat and being there for myself and showing up for myself first and foremost in every part of my life, not just on the mat, but also outside of the practice. And that's, I think that really feels close to God, if I could say it like that. But yeah, it's still an ongoing exploration for myself as well. But I think it's been very healing on that front because of growing up being Catholic and there being a very specific system around that. It feels very, I don't know, some kind of wound is definitely being slowly healed by the exploration of this and by the questioning of this word and by the diving into this word head on without avoiding it. But it took a while to get there, and I'm still swimming around in this pool if I don't really know where I'm going with it. But yeah. Thank you for being here with me today.
Well, thank you for showing me Kundalini Yoga. I'm not sure, I haven't made a decision yet, but I think I'm definitely up to occasionally, maybe more than occasionally, but I might call you and be like, can we do a session tomorrow together? I think I don't know if I can do it myself, but being able to do those sessions with you has been really nice, and having that kind of contact with someone and not doing it by myself has been really nice.
I agree. And also, I mean, we did quite long sessions up until now, but they are really like, they're shorter kriyas, they're shorter sessions. A couple weeks ago, I actually sent it into our girls group chat. A couple weeks ago, I found one by also Yogi Gems, which is like 15 minutes and it's just a reset. And I was feeling really shitty that day and everything was kind of going bad. And I was like, fuck it. And I dropped everything and I went and did the 15-minute reset and I felt so much better. So even just for that, Kundalini Yoga doesn't need to be an intense 1 hour full body workout. It can be a meditation, a type of meditation practice.
No, so I'm definitely up for having it in my life.
Amazing.
And we'll see what happens.
Who knows? Maybe we'll end up on a retreat together at some point in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get Akala Nand on here on the podcast at some point as well. Just take all our equipment to the retreat and interview her. That'd be really fun, actually.
I think what I want to say is I'd like to thank Akala Nand and Yogi Gems as well for giving us the space to explore.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you to them. Sending lots of love to all of them.
I think with that, we love you and we leave you.
Bisous.